Hi, Linda.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm great today. How are you?
Good. I am loving this weather here in Florida.
Oh, yeah, you're going to make me jealous?
I am. We're almost to 90.
Oh, what's the humidity like?
It like nothing. It's beautiful.
Oh, that is beautiful. We are going to be 70 degrees here today.
I could come out there too.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Nice, clear blue sky, sunny, 70 degrees.
And I think we have a fantastic show for everybody today. And you know what? It's not that we didn't run out of friends. We just wanted to do something with us today.
Well, the whole idea came from on the internet. There's a thing called an AMA, an Ask Me Anything, and celebrities will go on Reddit and they'll do an AMA and they'll sit in live time reply back to your comments. So we thought, what a great idea for an It's So Road episode that you can ask Linda or Matt or Stevie when she's on, whatever you are curious about finding out about, whether it's what we do in our spare time, or questions specifically about teaching for Linda, or cruise teaching for Stevie because she only teaches on cruise ships, or more of the inner workings of road. We're here to answer your questions. Of a little Road at Home update though, as the teachers send in their contracts, their classes start showing up online. So as they turn in their contracts, you'll be able to actually see what we're offering for Road at Home in May. We have over 60 events. We have a Handy Quilter sponsored long arm education program. Awesome. So that's really neat. We just got those in and we're really excited to check them out.
Yes, we are. And it just, what about Road in Person? Do you have any news on that?
Well, I have a question about Road in Person, and I'll get to that a little bit more later, but I can give you my Disneyland update, which I know is kind of a weird benchmark to be saying, but Disneyland attracts a whole lot of people from different walks of life. So currently, on the 1st of April, as long as you're in the red tier in California, and please don't ask me to explain these wacky colored tiers, but as long as you're in the red tier in your county, theme parks can open to limited capacity. So Disneyland, Orange County, where Disneyland is located, has been in the red tier for, I don't know, a couple of weeks now. They'll be opening the end of April to limited capacity, but they're expecting to add capacity as time goes on. And I also know that the vaccinations in California are going crazy. I got mine last Monday. So we are rocking and rolling out here and getting ready to reopen safely. So yes, I'll have an in-person update for you when we get to that question, but not just yet.
Cool. Awesome. And I also think this week, people always send us some fan mail that they want to see some quilts. So we're going to oblige you with some of our quilts.
Yep, Linda obviously makes quilts, so you're going to see quilts that Linda actually made, and I quilt via American Express. So you're going to see a vast variety of quilts that we have purchased throughout the years. I've got some pulled aside, not all of them because I know we have to save some for later, but we've got some pretty cool stuff to show you of all sorts of varying types.
And we got Stevie coming on with a product review.
Yes. Yes, she is.
For you. So, all right. You guys.
All right. Well, Linda,
firing your questions.
Start firing your questions. I got the first question for you, Linda, and this one is for you because I think I know the answer on it, but I'm not going there. Can you mix cotton, batik, and flannel in the same quilt?
Okay, I personally wouldn't. You can mix cotton and batik because batik is cotton, but I don't think I'd put the flannel in there, and that's just my personal preference. But if it's your quilt, you can do whatever you want in your quilt. How's that for an answer?
I think there's a quilt artist, and I don't remember who it is. I think it's a he, and I remember seeing quilts that had denim and all sorts of stuff mixed into the actual quilt. So it's really, yes, you can absolutely mix things in the same quilt, but again, it's your quilt. You can do what you want. We're not the quilt police. There you go. If you put pre-washed flannel on the back, that's a great comment, Barbara. It will be a nice and cuddly quilt, and what you want on the front will still be shown as whoever you gifted it to is cuddling with it on the couch.
Yeah. And I've actually had that happen. I've used making wearables. I had put unwashed flannel inside, and then I pieced on top of it, and I washed it. And not that my washing skills are the best, but the flannel shrunk, and I couldn't wear it anymore.
So I think Jill, you're correct. It would shrink differently, but I bet if you pre-washed all the fabrics first, you might eliminate some of that issues with the different shrinkage going on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Linda. Here you got one from Cheryl Lynch. She wants to know, when did you start quilting?
I started quilting in 1993, and I started teaching in 1994. So it was just, I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and somebody was looking for a teacher at a local shop, and my aunt said, get Linda. And I started teaching. All I could do was stained glass quilting, and I did that till everybody got bored learning it, and I had to learn something else.
So then what did you learn next?
Piecing.
Looks like we have more coming in. Let's see, Jillian. All right, Linda, which do you prefer, teaching on Zoom or in person? And what are the advantages and disadvantages? We have Jill who asked you that.
Okay. First of all, Jill does Zoom Zumba with me, and she should be really tired by now because I worked them hard today. So she's overzealous. But yeah, Jill, I prefer teaching in person. I truly do. I enjoy listening to the interaction with the students. I love the hugs, and I really like watching the students as they cut their New York beauty blocks, and they just beam that they actually did this, and that's what really makes it for me. You can see that on Zoom, but I do like to travel. I just like the whole show atmosphere, and I guess the disadvantage with Zoom to a point is that the students don't necessarily interact with each other. Like, you can always make new friends in a class, especially if somebody steals your stuff. You can make new friends in a class, and on Zoom they may not interact that much. But everybody seems to like it on Zoom because they're in their studio, and if they forgot something or they run out of something, they don't have to run to the show floor. They can just reach over and get it. So there's advantages and disadvantages, and some people don't want to travel and go to a show, but the in-person experience is just the best for me.
Good. I agree with that. I like in-person over Zoom personally. I feel like the buzz and excitement that you get at an in-person event just can't be matched by anything on the internet.
Yeah.
All right, Debbie, how is Carolyn? Well, she had her second round COVID vaccination. Friday, I believe. She's been really good about staying at home and staying safe during COVID. So that's been good. She's doing well. I think she's finally settled into retirement. Her and the dog hang out, and she does some sewing now and then. But she's doing very, very well. Thank you for asking. All right, let's see here. I have a question from Jean, one that we did answer at the beginning, but one I will ask again. And this is for me, but Linda, you know the answer to. Road at Home registration starts on April 1st.
April Fool!
April Fool's Day. But where can we find the classes? So the answer is, as we get class information or contracts back from the teachers, they were technically due on Monday, like 2 days ago. But once we get them in, the class schedule will slowly start to appear online. So when we get their contract in, we double check the classes and we put them online. So if you go to the roadtoca.com website, and then you go to, let's see, Jillian is going to show you this here in just a second. Jillian is the behind the scenes producer. So she's going to pull it up right now. So there is our website. She's going to click the home button just so you'd see. This is what you would see when you go to our website, road2ca.com. All right. And then there's Road at Home and class information. And then if you click on the class schedule, there you will start seeing the classes that are appearing from the teachers who have signed their contracts. So you can see there's some missing as we go through the list. Those are from teachers who have not signed their contracts as of yet. As we get their contracts in, those classes will be appearing. Actually, scroll up, Jillian. You'll see there is Cheryl just asked Linda a question. There is actually one of Cheryl Lynch's classes. So as you go through, it'll show you these classes happen to be Saturday classes. But they are online. They're starting to appear. It is a smaller catalog than you had for Road at Home in January, a little bit more intimate. But there's nothing wrong with that. We're excited to go through and let you see all that we have to offer. There will be a couple more classes added in. We got another, we have the Handy Quilter Long Arm Education Program. Those 2 teachers are coming in. And we have another teacher coming in as well. So those
and Linda's classes will be in sooner or later.
Yeah, once Linda signs a contract, we'll get her classes online too.
Yeah, and on that website, you can also find for It's So Road, because we have a couple of different things going on that you can submit questions for us. You can submit your UFO that we're going to talk about in a little bit. And that's where you can find all the information, upcoming guests. See, we do have another friend left.
We do.
And all the information you need on, and if you have a product, it gives you instructions on what you would like Stevie to review. So you can send all your comments for that as well.
So also on the website, since we're kind of chattering about it, we are going to be updating the It's So Road section with links to the past shows. So if you missed a show, don't worry, it will be on the website.
Yeah.
So great. All right, I have another question. And somebody says, when do we get to look over all the classes and what are the price ranges? Okay, so obviously we answered the question about the class schedule, the price ranges. And that goes along with another question that we have, which are how are prices for online classes determined? So let's back up just a bit. When we do an in-person conference, we have this giant spreadsheet of doom that we put in all the teachers' expenses, estimated teachers' expenses into, and that shoots us out a number. And within that number is some of our overhead operating costs as well, because we are a business. We do have payroll, we have an office we have to rent, utilities, name it, advertising costs for the club, for the event, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So we have all of that baked into that spreadsheet. When we went virtual for Road at Home, the teachers did not particularly want those kinds of compensation models because we weren't flying them in. It was different for them. They have to have a Zoom license. They have to invest in some technology infrastructure, so on and so forth. So the compensation levels for the teachers had to change. So where the catch is the Road at Home model. Classes are actually a little bit more money than the Road in person model. And that's all strictly based on the amount of money that the teacher wants to be paid for the class. So remember, when we fly in a teacher, we pay a rate similar to what your local guild would pay, plus the expenses for the teacher. Now, we have pre-negotiated hotel room rates and airfare expenses and blah, 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 all that fun stuff that goes into it. We feed the teachers while they're out here. We give them a per diem for their meals. And then what we're able to do is we're able to balance those expenses against income that we have coming in from the vendor mall, income we have coming from the admission, the gate fees, the road booth, all the different lines of revenue streams as the business we have. For an online show, we don't have all those revenue streams. We have classes, and that's it. So that's why the classes for online seem a little bit higher. I believe the same individual asked about the prices, also asked about the lecture fees. So for all Road at Home events, you're actually getting lectures taught by faculty, by teaching professionals. For the most part, when you attend a Road at in-person event, we reserve those spaces for vendors. And the vendors use those. A lot of vendors are professional teachers, and they'll give you a trunk show and so forth. But the end goal of the vendor providing you the lecture is that they're going to sell product. Therefore, that $5 fee at the door strictly covers the cost of the AV guy, the projector rental, the projector screen, the microphone, the chair cost, the electricity, everything. All that $5 you pay is literally just overhead. So that's why the lectures for Road at Home are more money, because when you fly in a teacher for a lecture at your local guild, their rate is higher than if you have a vendor at a show coming and giving you a 45-minute talk about how thread is made, when they know you're going to turn around and go back to the booth and buy $300 worth of thread. So there is a lot of differences that go into planning an online event versus an in-person event. And yes, the costs and the compensation models are quite different for both, as well as the income for the business is different as well.
Yeah.
You have anything to add on that, Linda?
No, and as long as people do understand that we are businesses, and even with Road at Home, there are some expenses that you still have to maintain the website, doing the registration. If you have to do refunds, you have to process those, and there's expenses for everything. So it's a business. It's a business.
And the sneaky one that nobody realizes is the credit cards. That's the one I think that people have the least amount of awareness about the fees is the credit card fees. And you get cash back. I've got a credit card that gives me like 2% cash back. Well, the credit card is not giving you the money. The merchant is actually giving you the money on the cash back. So there's all sorts of discount fees and all that fun stuff built into credit cards. That's more of a discussion for a professional development seminar, which pegs me to you, Linda. You get the next question on this one. I would like to see a workshop on opening a quilt store, online or brick and mortar. She attended a starting a long arm business during Road at Home in January, and it was great. But some of us want to know more about the quilt shop.
The quilt shop. Well, when you're have a quilt shop, you have to really have a good reserve because you're going to have to stock that quilt shop. And I'm going to toss an arbitrary number, and it could vary by $5 or $10. Every bolt of fabric that your quilt shop has is like $85, $90 that they have to pay for the fabric and to ship it in. So when you go in a quilt shop and you just look at all these bolts of beautiful fabrics and you say, that's a lot of money sitting there. And they need to do things, have classes and stuff to help you buy fabric, to help them pay their bills, because they have rent, they have advertising. If they have teachers or staff, they have to pay them. And so it does run into money. That's why even the teachers, we always say support your local quilt shop. Because if you don't support your local shop, it's not going to be there. And the trained people that are in a shop that will actually stop and help you pick colors and stuff, they know what they're doing. They see the fabrics, and they will help you. And if you're having a problem, they will help you. So, you do need to support your local quilt shop. You can always go in and say, hey, I saw this in a magazine or whatever. Could you order it? And they'd be happy to do that for you.
And that's, I think, one other thing to keep in mind, in that we will, there's some fairly successful quilt shop owners out here in Southern California that I will reach out to and see if we can put together some sort of seminar for you to kind of look into. But I think the best idea on opening a quilt shop is to really sit down and put together a business plan.
Yes.
Because it's not you can't run it as a hobby business, right? And that's what a lot of shops that go in and out so quickly, they're ran as a hobby business. You need to run it as an actual business. You need to know what your fixed expenses are. You need to know what each yard of fabric actually costs you, not just what you're paying the manufacturer, but what the shipping costs, what it costs to cut the fabric, the packaging, the labor, the plastic bag you put the fabric into, all of that's cost, the point of sale system, right? Even our bank now charges us for change. If we go and get coin from the bank, they're now charging us to do that. So yeah, I know, right? So everything has a cost to it. So that fabric that you might be getting from the manufacturer for $5.50 a yard, yeah, it's $5.50 a yard on a 15-yard bolt. That's only, $80. But once you pay someone to cut it, and out here in California, that's $13, $14 an hour for a minimum wage. You buy the plastic bag, everything else. Now all of a sudden you're up to $8.75, $9 a yard for fabric, and you have a margin to make. So yeah, it's definitely, we'll look into that, and I'll reach out because I'm sure we can maybe get somebody together that'll give a talk about opening a quilt shop.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
All right, Jillian, looks like we have some more comments. All right, Linda, what about the New York Beauty do you find appealing, and is your technique easy to learn?
My technique is the easiest you ever want to do to learn curves and foundation paper piecing. I'm going to tell you that right now. I find it appealing because if you listen to me enough, you will note that I have a very slight accent, and it's from New York, because I was born in Staten Island, and I was always fascinated with the New York Beauty Block, which was originally, by the way, the Rocky Mountain Crown of Thorns, but because of the Statue of Liberty, it is associated with New York Beauty. Wait, slight? That's funny? Yeah. We have some smarty pants on here making fun of my accent. But the New York Beauty Block can be very, very intimidating for people because the points and because it's curves. But I came up with a way, just by accident how it works, and it makes it very, very easy, and everybody's successful. I have 100% success rate. So, and people finish them. I'm going to show you some.
You are?
I am.
Oh, look at that. So, Linda, you said about that accent. How do you order a glass of water?
Water. But I get
water?
Yeah, coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Yeah, I could get you a glass of coffee, but I don't know about water.
Yeah. You know, when I was out at Disneyland, when I was a kid and I was in the gift shop, my mother could not believe it. Some of the employees, they would have me standing there, and they're like, say this, say that, say this, say that. I couldn't figure out why. I know now.
Well, because we don't have accents out here. We talk normal.
I talk normal. The only one that really, really doesn't understand me is Siri. And Siri will ultimately tell me, that's not nice, Linda.
All right. So we got a question in about how the Reese family and myself got into quilting.
How did you get into it?
That's a doozy, isn't it? All right. So my grandmother and great-grandmother back in 1983 or so started a garment sewing store down here in Upland. And by that point, there were two people left in Upland sewing garments, my grandmother and my great-grandmother. And so they didn't do well. So my grandmother went to a Mary Ellen Hopkins seminar, yes, on quilting, on how to quilt. And she decided to turn her garment shop into a quilt shop. And so that's how the Fabric Patch became a quilt shop back in 1984 or 5, way before I was born. So then in 1991, she bought Road to California, and she enlisted the help of her 3 sons to help her with the show. So that means by proxy, all of us grandkids were involved in various steps of the way throughout the years. Somewhere there's a picture, and I'm not going to find it for you. I will not find it. But somewhere there is a picture of me as a kid, probably 5 or 6, maybe 7, of when she did the fashion show at the Hilton Hotel. And she had all the grandkids participating in the fashion show. And then I had a couple of years there I wasn't too involved. A couple of years there I wasn't too involved, and then I started helping my uncle with the equipment moving. And then slowly that's when I actually got hired here. So the Reese family has been involved in quilting and sewing. It's kind of interesting with our new venture, the International Sewing Arts Festival, that we are kind of circling back to where grandma and great-grandma got this all started back in the early 80s on garment sewing. And here we're actually starting an event about garment sewing, fashion, and home decor all at the same time. So it's kind of crazy how things go full circle, isn't it?
It is. It is. So how about showing us some of your quilts?
All right, I can show you some quilts. Let me get my producer over here, and she'll start handing me quilts to show you and talk about. Now, like I said earlier, I quilt by American Express. So what I generally do is I go somewhere and I see a quilt and I buy it. So this quilt right here, most of my quilts are minis because they hang on the wall really nice. This quilt, I'm going to absolutely butcher the title and the names. Cruzeiro do Sol by Aline Bugarin and Natasha of the same last name. We're just going to put it that way. This is a whole cloth quilt that was finished in December 2017 in Brazil. So I purchased this quilt probably in October of 2018, 2019. My wife decorates our house in teals and tans. So when I saw this quilt, I thought, ooh, I can buy that for my wife to hang on the wall. It hasn't left my quilt chest here at work yet, just because it's so very pretty. I really enjoyed the workmanship on this is fantastic. So that is one of my quilts. Oh, here's another one. I like this one. So I have very eclectic taste when it comes to quilts. And you'll find a theme here very quickly about my quilts. This is called How Now by Shelley Berg of Lincoln, Nebraska. So this one I bought from the Sakwa mini auction. And you can see here she had a boo-boo, so we put a Band-Aid on the back. Jillian will show you the quilts of that. But I have a thing about animal quilts. I love quilts of animals. Of all different kinds. I've got all sorts of different animal quilts. You'll see a couple of them here coming up. And they're really neat to have. And this shows the importance of labeling your quilts, because as a quilt buyer, as I'm buying quilts, I don't necessarily remember where I bought the quilt from, when I bought the quilt from, or who made the quilt. So having a label on it as a buyer is actually really nice, because it allows me to remember who in the world made this quilt that I'm holding up to show people. Here's the next one. And Linda, I just want you to know, I didn't originally get crabs from Linda J. Hahn. I have owned this quilt longer than I owned that button. So this is by Ruth Bloomfield of Australia. And this is called No Place Like Home. And this one I saw and I just loved, because again, it's an animal quilt and the crab is appliqued in there, and it just looks so neat. So
you're just full of crabs, aren't you?
Oh, I completely am. I love this quilt. This one generally hangs in my office, but we pulled it down just so we could share it with everybody. So this is one of the first quilts I bought, coming up here next. This maker actually enters the road contest. She does quite often. And this quilt's from New Zealand. This is called Cherries. It's called Melissa Burden. And I bought this quilt right after I bought Road. So I bought Road, and the sale happened in October, or in April, and I bought that quilt in October. And this is one of my favorites. The shadowing on this quilt with the cherries, you could just sit and stare at it for hours just to see the technique and the shadowing that Melissa was able to get from out of the quilt, and some of the thread play on that. So Linda, do you want to show a couple of yours before I finish up with mine?
I can. I'm gonna switch my camera so I can stand up. Mine are bigger than yours.
Yes, mine are mostly all minis.
Hey, can you see the other side of my house now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Oh, there's the camera. This quilt is called Bermuda Sunrise, and it's made with all scraps. All scraps. And it's quilted in metallic thread. And this was my very first pattern ever that I wrote. Ever. So it's kind of old. On the back, I always put something that tells a story, and this one is from my adult beverage. It's still there. This one is a sampler quilt from, uses blocks from my newest book, Rock That Quilt Block Country Crown. Can you see all the blocks?
Yep.
All these blocks are variations of the same block. It's how you turn a patch or where you put the color. And even better, all the fabrics in this quilt are from my second fabric collection with Banyan Batiks called.
Oh, they could almost replicate that quilt verbatim if they wanted to, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so much fun playing with blocks. Now, this one is brand spanking new, just back from the quilter. Guess where I'm teaching this?
Oh, you're teaching us for Rode at Home.
This is Rode at Home is going to be the debut class for this quilt. And it's a little more precision piecing because we have 2 color pies and 2 color background pieces that make this secondary design here. And this is called Castleton Corner. And Castleton Corner is a neighborhood in Staten Island. So as you do this quilt, I'm going to show you how you can make a miniature using the scraps and cutaways of the larger quilt.
Ah, it's a twofer.
Cutting yourself your own kit. This is Matt's favorite quilt of mine.
Oh, I like this one.
You know
I don't have one of these. I don't have one of these yet, Linda. I need to get one.
I will make you one.
I love the crabs.
This is Feeling Crabby, and this is one of the only quilts, there's only like 3, that have non-New York names. It's the New York Beauty quilt. This goes so fast that you could make this in a weekend and be done with it. This one was quilted by Jody Robinson, and Castleton Corner was quilted by Cheryl Sinkowski. She's down here in Naples.
Yeah, see, even my wife loves it.
Oh, okay. And she even likes it. She knows you got crabs from me. All right. And this one, believe it or not, how many blocks do you see?
3?
It's all the same block. It's 1 block.
Really? Wow.
It's where you put your fabric placement that creates the secondary and tertiary blocks. But it's all.
Wow.
And this is called Carnival number 5.
Was there a number 1 through 4?
No.
Oh, okay. I just had to ask. All right. So my next quilt, I have turned into quite a collector of Egyptian tent maker quilts, and I think I own probably 10, 15 of these things,
20.
Maybe even 20. I own a lot. I have a couple hanging in my house. I have a couple hanging here. And then this last in 2020, when the men came over, they had a bunch of mini tent maker quilts, which I'm a sucker for mini quilts because they travel really well. So when I go in, when it's not COVID and I go around and I do presentations for the local guilds, I bring my mini collection. And so we were taking these giant canvas heavy tent maker quilts with us. And when I found these, they had a bunch of little ones. So these haven't even seen the light of day. What happens when they generally come is we go through and we fan through all the quilts that they bring. And then I snatch the 5 or so I buy every time they come out of it. So the public never even sees these quilts. So if you come to our office, we've got one hanging here in the front that has never been seen. It's gorgeous. It's like this with a dark background. It's beautiful. And I love these with the embroidery details on them. The embroidery really makes these tent maker pieces. So they're gorgeous. If you are interested in buying these, I highly recommend you check out their Etsy page, because the tent makers at Cairo have their own Etsy page. And you could buy them directly from the maker. They'll actually stitch in the bottom corner. They'll stitch their signature on the quilt. So it's kind of neat that they'll do that for you. So this one was made by Tarek. He attended Rhode the 2 years prior to 2020 when he was here. So, all right, this next quilt is kind of a neat quilt. I bought this one, actually. This one, a honorable mention or a third place award, I think, at the International Quilt Festival in Houston. And I bought it off of the wall there. Barbara Triscari made this, and it is actually fashioned. We'll show you the picture on the back, because the quilt label has the picture that was the inspiration for this quilt. So going back to last week about how important quilt labels are, this is actually, we thought this was telecommunication poles, like a power line thing. We thought that was really neat because the name is the Power Telecommunication. But actually, it's themed after the Indianapolis Public Library. I guess the public library in Indianapolis has a metal skeleton and glass roof. So Jillian will show you the picture on the back of that quilt that kind of makes the whole quilt make a lot more sense as to what the maker was thinking. So quilt labels are very, very important, and I say that because the last quilt I have to show you, we have tons and tons here, but the last quilt out of the Rhode Corporate Collection I can show you today is one made after our original Road to California fabric. This quilt hung in our office for years. We finally retired it from hanging and have stored it away in a safe place to bring it out for you. But the saddest part about this quilt, there is no quilt label. I have no idea who made this quilt. And it's sad because this quilt has been around now for 15 years. You can see the back is made out of our Road to California fabric. That fabric is hard to find. We don't have any of it left.
We have a yard.
Oh, yes, we have 1 yard of that fabric left, and that's it. But we have no clue who made this quilt, and it's a gorgeous quilt. It is one of our favorite Rhode fabric quilts because it uses the fabric in such a unique way, and it's such an appealing design. We have no idea who made it. So if you made it, send us a note so we can give you credit and put it on the back of the quilt. But yeah, that's the Rhode Corporate Collection quilts that we're going to show you today. The next time that we don't have a friend to join us here on air, I will show you a couple more. I have one bonus for you. So last year in 2019, the last year the Houston Quilt Festival happened, I was walking through the quilt gallery, and there was this giant, it must have been 36 inches wide by 24-inch long quilt of a sea turtle in teals. And remember, my wife decorates the house in teals and gray and tans. So I loved it, so I bought it. And then as I was walking through the miniature collection, I found this. It's made by Melanie Marr, the same person who made the giant sea turtle. It's called Turtle Tranquility. It's the mini that goes with the big quilt. How could you not buy it? Right? So we have the mini that hangs here in the office, and the big quilt will be hanging in my house shortly once we get it hanging up on the wall. Right now it's safely stored away with some of our other quilts that we keep at home. So that's your little glimpse of the Rhode Corporate Collection. I know Linda enjoyed showing you some quilts. So I believe
my unlabeled quilts.
Linda. So the last question I have here, and I believe I haven't gone over this yet, is Joni is asking me, will there be an actual Road to California show? And I think you're talking about an in-person event in January of 2022. Well, we thought that COVID would be calmed down and have a show in 2021. Well, obviously that didn't happen. All signs are pointing towards an in-person show in 22. Like I said, we kind of use Disney as the gauge because Disney has people go in and out of indoor spaces. They attract a huge audience. So far, there hasn't been any backtracking from the state about the reopening of theme parks. We're waiting to hear the reopening guidelines for convention centers. They should be coming soon. They were promised to us a week ago, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So, it's state government. Things can be a little slow. All signs are pointing to one. Now, what is it going to look like? Your guess is as good as mine, especially with the CDC now coming out. The schools only need 3-foot social distancing and not 6. Obviously, keeping 6 feet of social distance in an exhibit hall is not going to work. Classes are pretty well socially distanced anyways. 2 people per 8-foot table gives you that kind of space apart that you need. Obviously, there'll probably still have to be face masks worn in. We have to comply with all the local, state, and federal health codes, especially considering we are in a publicly owned building. So my guess is, and my fingers are crossed, that we'll be having an in-person show in January. We are going forward with planning that we will be having an in-person show in January. So until you hear otherwise, we will be having an in-person show in January of 2022. What it's going to look like, we don't know yet. Who's going to attend as far as vendors? We have a rough list together of vendors who have already deposited booths or are holding booths, and we have some vendors who are seeking information. Like we said previously, when we postponed Road, the same class catalog will appear online here after Road at Home May. Probably like 2 weeks after Road at Home May, the Road to California in-person class catalog for 2022 will reappear on the internet. We are anticipating a date of July to August to reopen registration to the public. However, one thing to note about that, I will not reopen registration for classes until we see the convention centers actually reopened. So we're not going to reopen a bunch of registration until we know that they're open. My guess is by the end of summer, we should see a lot going on. Cheryl Lynch, hi Cheryl, is asking whether we're going to have virtual as well in January. I don't know. Currently, the answer is there will be a virtual component, probably not a huge catalog of virtual classes, only because of the labor that goes into running an in-person event. There's no way we can provide the support for a virtual event at the same time. However, we're investigating that because you never know. We will be looking at offering virtual tours of the quilts. It's So Road will be happening every single day during the Road to California in-person event. So we're going to drag my lazy boy down there. We're going to get Linda her own lazy boy, and we're going to sit there. We're going to be talking It's So Road at least once a day. Who knows, maybe twice. We're working on all getting the plans together for that. I have a couple other ideas up my sleeve about some virtual events that my staff is absolutely scared to death about. We're going to be doing a Roundabout 2.0 version for in-person that we'll be able to have both in-person and live streamed over the internet. We're also going to be live streaming the lecture room. So yes, there will be some crossover. How much remains to be seen. It really depends on the capacity guidelines and what really the rules are to get into the events. Again, I have no idea. I could tell you what they gave to us when they planned to reopen last September, which obviously these things are going to change. My guess is even if we do get guidelines, by the time January comes, they're going to be completely different than what they send us in a couple of weeks. So just stay tuned on that one. But yes, as far as I know, and I don't know much, but we are getting ready for an in-person event in January. So I want to thank all of you for our questions. I think this was a lot of fun. We'll do this again about once every 2 or 3 months. We'll get a bunch of questions in. If we can't answer them during the event in between guests, obviously then we'll do another AMA. Linda, thank you. I enjoyed this. I think now we're going to a product review with Stevie and Linda. I have no idea what they're reviewing, but I know there's Oreo cookies involved. So check out the product review, and then we'll come back for the UFO graveyard.
Hello, how are you, all of you today? It's 50 degrees here in Leesburg, Virginia, and it's cloudy, which is why you can see me really well. I sit and film in a sunroom, which is the room that convinced me I should buy this house when I bought this house 16 years ago. But the skylights kind of raise havoc if the sun is out full and bright. The news from Leesburg is that my husband and I both got our second COVID shot last week.
You get a sticker?
We did get stickers. It said we were masked and vaccinated.
Okay.
We had to drive 45 minutes away to Winchester, Virginia to get this to happen. But, I know that other people have found out that you can't just sit and wait for somebody to ask you to come in and get a shot. You need to kind of be proactive about it. But my husband and I had heard that people get sick after the second one, and we thought, well, we could just go home and get in bed and wait for it to happen. But yeah, instead we drove a couple blocks away and bought a new car. So it wasn't until I wrote the check to pay for the car that I started feeling sick. But that's another whole issue. So today I'm going to be reviewing Thread Painting, a Garden Quilt by Joyce Hughes. So Joyce is going to be one of our teachers in May. So that's very exciting. Now, thread painting is not difficult, but it's a technique that you need to pay attention to when you're doing it. So it's not the day to start thread painting if you have decided to foster 5 puppies, or if you invited all the kids in the neighborhood in to have a play date. You need to be able to concentrate. In this book, there are 6 motifs. You can see there's 6 here. One of them is kind of covered up by this one. And Joyce goes through all 6 motifs like they were chapters. So there are thread color suggestions, and she has broken up like this one here. She has broken that into little segments. So the bird would be a segment, the flowers would be another one. And she goes through step by step how you're supposed to do each one of those little motifs. The nice thing about thread painting on your quilts is that you don't have to worry about dark fabric shadowing underneath the lighter ones, because you're going to cover it up with thread. Throughout the book, there are hints scattered that sometimes they say remember and sometimes they say tip, but it's really important information that Joyce has picked out for each of these situations that you would find doing these 6 motifs. If you've ever really wanted to try thread painting, this is a great book to start doing that with, because she is holding your hand throughout the process by her written words. Matt just showed you a quilt from the Tent Makers that had embroidery on it. And Matt and I have discussed what a difference embroidery makes on quilts. Well, the same thing goes for thread painting. It is like the frosting on the cake. So I would highly recommend that you try it. And I highly recommend that you try it with this particular book, the Thread Painting, a Garden Quilt by Joyce Hughes. Jillian, do we have an Oreo cookie picture. Okay, that needs to be a little bit, well, no, that's fine. All right, when I got my COVID shot last Friday, I asked the nurse doing the shot if she would also give my Oreo cookie a COVID shot. And she kept saying, what? What? You want me to give a shot to a cookie? And then she reminded me that I shouldn't try to eat that cookie afterwards because she had handled it with her fingers, although she had so much alcohol on her fingers to sanitize between different people. It's fine. But I was glad when what was it, 15 minutes, 20 minutes that you have to sit there, make sure you don't have a reaction. I was glad that was up because I was thinking they might come and take me away because who else would ask for an Oreo cookie to get shot with from COVID?
Did the cookie get a sticker?
No, the cookie didn't get a sticker. The sticker they gave out was bigger than the cookie.
Oh.
So I put it back in the plastic bag, put it in my purse, and unfortunately it came to a sad end because I think I shoved my phone on top of it. So, okay, as this is my other little tip part of it, as you eat these cookies, I don't normally keep cookies in my house, but now all of a sudden, getting thinner and thinner. But once you eat all of them, you end up with this tray. And it's not a very sturdy tray, but what it is perfect for is to store hexagons. Now these are hexagons all prepared for a quilt that I am making, and I think there is 54 hexagons. I've actually flowers, hexagon flowers. I've actually put some of them together, so it's not going to be all 54 in there. And I was with my daughter, who is very creative but doesn't have the time to do much because she's running a company. But she sat there with this sitting there, and she put all the yellows together, all the greens together, and they were actually sorted by motifs. So there's 6 flowers and 1 center. Well, I had all my centers together, but she's just helping. So, and I love her dearly. Now, not when she was a teenager. So I think that's it for this week. And
That's pretty good.
I wish you all happy stitching. And if you get tired of hand stitching, go try that thread painting.
Yeah.
All right, Linda, are you ready for the UFO graveyard?
Yes, but we need to share. Anybody who submits their pictures for us to evaluate, critique, whatever you want to call it, you will receive a free downloadable pattern. Excuse me. A free downloadable pattern. That's number 1. And we've been saying that we have a drawing. Well, we have a special prize for the drawing. Matt?
You will receive a ticket to Roundabout 2.0 in May, and you will also get a free seat to one of Linda's classes. Yes. So that is awesome. That's worth, I don't know, good money.
Yeah.
It's like $100 price. For all you have to do is send us a picture. So get on there and
listen
send
to
us
what
a
we
picture.
say.
Well, you don't even have to listen to what we say if you don't want to. Just send us the picture. We'll talk about it whether you're here or not. So that's a great price. So every UFO that we feature from the start of the UFO graveyard 2 weeks ago through to the first week of May, you will be entered for a free class with Linda Hahn, and I will even pay for the kit fee. You hear that, Linda? I'll pay for the kit fee.
Man.
I know. And also a seat to Roundabout 2.0. So I highly suggest you send in your UFOs. We'll be putting that out in the newsletter as well. So, all right, UFO number 1, Jillian, get it on there.
Let's see.
All right, Annie submits this, and it's called Mechanics Quilt. I made this to be a back for a quilt and then decided to keep it as a top. It's for my son who is a farm mechanic. Other than the solid, bright fabrics, it's all nuts, bolts, gears, etc. that speaks to his passions about machinery and tractors. The papers surrounding the quilt are drafts of ideas. I did think about doing intersecting gears, large scale, and the black print, but can't figure out how to accomplish it. I've gotten it out several times and even packed it to the one and only time I ever intended to road to California, only to have the teacher pan it so bad I was embarrassed about showing it. Boo, I don't like hearing that. She continues to say, I'm just plain stuck. I like to finish it as my grown son needs a new couch quilt rather than the old baby quilt he is still using. Okay, I've got to say, I kind of like this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know the size of it. And I see the paper around it, what she's referring to for the ideas. I wonder if she just I'm not sure, but made it a little bit bigger and then threw binding on it and quilted it and threw some binding on it and called it a day.
What happens if you put a border on it, maybe a black border, and use that gray fabric as a cornerstone, but she said gears, right?
Right.
So and applique a gear or something in those cornerstones, or even maybe run some gears down the side of one of the borders.
Well, couldn't she also, if she's going to have it long arm quilted, maybe your local long arm quilter has a computerized gear and screws and different things that then you can actually have the quilting tell the story.
Yeah. Put a solid border and let the quilting maybe in a contrasting thread.
That would be neat. That would be different. Okay, we have a comment. It could be quilted. It could be quilted. That's exactly what we're talking about, Barbara. Quilted with the gear design, something to give it that extra, oomph of what it's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have knocked this at all. I think this is a great quilt. The first time I actually saw this, I thought of a road because of the orange line going straight down the center of it and like a crosswalk, right? But I like this. I think this one is definitely a stitch it. What do you think, Linda?
I'm a stitch it. I'll vote stitch it.
Perfect. Well, let's see you finish that one, Annie. All right, next is from Connie. And this is called Serendipity 1 and 2. All right, this is what Connie has to say. 3 strips are sewn together, then snowballed on diagonal sides. The original pattern had a cream-colored background. I thought I needed a darker colored background, so I chose burgundy. First mistake. Second mistake was trying to make it scrappy looking. It's so scrappy that I couldn't get the pinwheel to show. The Serendipity 2 was a second quilt made with the segment cut from the snowball trimmings. Same issue, not enough contrast. Can't see the pinwheels. The larger squares made 75 squares, and the smaller squares made 151 squares. Oh my, she's got a lot of this. Maybe I'm too matchy-matchy. Thoughts? Now, Jillian has some more pictures to go with this one. Yeah. All the prints are like the same size on this one, which I think is a little bit problematic.
That looks like thimbleberries.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And I see what she's saying about the pinwheels getting lost in the fabric. It's like there's an issue with the value. The color choices seem to be kind of off on this one.
So is that 2 different blocks, or are they supposed to be the same?
I think they're 2 different blocks.
Okay.
Oh, the pinwheel's on the right, and Jillian's telling me something else is on the left.
The one closest?
All right, the one on the left is the piece that's in the bottom right is turned wrong.
Oh, yep. Okay, I see that.
Okay. I think it's over burgundied
I agree with that. And Sarah says it's too busy, needs some solids to pull it together. Yes, it does. Some solids in almost a different color family to kind of give this thing some life. I don't know on this. You know, the one thing I would say on this is it doesn't look like Connie got too far on it before she realized it kind of doesn't work.
No.
So,
Connie,
yeah,
ditch it.
I think this is definitely a ditch it moment. I would put this one back in the box and put it in the guild rummage sale pile.
Yeah.
So
Ditch it.
yeah, I think so too. So I want to thank both Annie and Connie for submitting their UFOs. Like we said just about 5 minutes earlier, if you want to see your UFO on It's So Road, go ahead and submit it. We'll chit chat about it, and you will get not only a free pattern from Linda, you will also get entered into a drawing for a free class with Linda Hahn that I will pay your kit fee for, and a Roundabout 2.0 ticket, and I'll also pay the registration fee. So look at that. It will cost you nothing. That sounds great. So next week, Linda, who do we have on It's So Road?
Next week, we have a friend. We have Diane Murtha, and she is talking about challenge quilts.
And I think
Working with
we
your
have,
guild and challenge quilts.
I think we have some Road to California challenges we'll talk about too.
Yeah. So before we forget, if you want to enter your quilt in our UFO graveyard, it's on the It's So Road portion of the website where you can submit the pictures and tell us your story.
It is, and it'll also be in our email newsletter, which you should all be receiving. And Jillian is dropping the link in the comments as we speak.
And you can also send us fan mail and give us suggestions on who you might want to see or a product that you might want Stevie to review or what you might like for us to talk about.
Yep. So we will be announcing our April calendar here at our next It's So Road event. We've got some great guests that we've been trying to woo to get on here to talk to us about a whole lot of interesting topics. So stay tuned. Next week we have Diane Murtha, and we'll talk also all about those challenge quilts, and hopefully we'll know more about reopening of in person, but at least we'll know more about Road at Home May.
Yeah.
All right.
Everybody be safe. Keep wearing your mask. Keep wearing your masks and wash your hands.
Yep. Wash your hands, wear your masks, and we'll see you next week. Bye, Linda.